Aaron Antis. On today's show, we are interviewing Dr. Q about why the COVID-19 tests are designed to create false positive test results, and about his new book, Eyes Wide Open. We are only as blind as we want to be. This guy, I mean, he breaks it down. He alleges, he shares that the CDC is a corrupt organization, that the FDA can't be trusted. I mean, Aaron, if we discover that the FDA and the CDC are corrupt organizations, what does that mean?
If you can't trust those organizations, I mean, for most people, their entire life, that's who they've listened to as the authority on the subject.
Well said, my friend. I'm sorry I cut your music and then made you think that we were done, but we weren't done.
Okay. Well, when it's somebody that has been a trusted source, it's like everybody goes to that place to pull that information, and now all of a sudden, if anybody says that it's not trusted,
well, it's like when you have like a love interest, like the movie
up.
The Crying Game. You know, you're dating a woman who you fall madly in love with.
Yeah.
Only to discover on your wedding night that your loved one, your loved woman, is a man. You love this woman. You find out that she has an Adam's apple, and that she's a dude.
I mean,
It's
very
imagine
similar.
the heartache.
Yeah, I can see.
And then the
how
question
you
is,
draw
once
this.
you find out that she is a dude, do you go ahead and continue with that relationship?
No, that's the point at which you go, hang on a second. Can I get a refund?
And I think that's where America is right now. They're going, hey, I thought that she was a she, but she's a dude.
Wow, that is a really good correlation between the Crying Game and the CDC.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top, teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colin Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C&Z up on your radio, and now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you.
Yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, we are in the air everywhere. And on today's show, James, you're an attorney.
Yes, sir.
You're joining us
Yes,
as
sir.
as a special guest. And I'm just telling you, Devin, you are a producer. You're a web developer. And I'm just telling both of you guys, okay? This is my professional recommendation to you, the attorney, and to you, the web developer.
Okay.
You want to get out some duct tape, and you want to tape your head. Just fully tape it into like a tape helmet, because today's guest is going to wreck your mind, and what you thought was true many times is going to be proven to be false. Some of the places we've gone to for wisdom over the years, we're going to find out that those places are places we cannot trust. Today's guest is a double board certified physician, which is 2 times more board certified than I am. And I'm just telling you, his new book here, his book, Eyes Wide Open, We Are Only as Blind as We Want to Be, is a mind wrecker. Dr. Q, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
I really
brother.
appreciate it.
I'm excited. I got to ask you, though. I'm going to start with the tough questions. Dr.
Okay,
Q,
yeah.
why are you called Dr. Q?
Well, that's a good one. I started, I had an awakening, say, about 10, 11 months ago, okay? And in that awakening, I wrote a book. And I titled it Dr. Q, because as you know, this has to be it's just a book with a lot of good information on it. And what I've found, because I also talked with Dr. Mikovits, I found I needed to distance myself a little bit at first until it was safe to come out.
Got it.
And so Dr. Q is an analogy for a doctor that awakens to other truths. And, I have followed a certain movement. I think there is a truther movement out there that is incredibly enticing. And I have, fully embraced the fact that we need to search for truth. We need to kind of empty our head with whatever we have been fed for decades. And this includes physicians, nurses, healthcare providers. And so that's the name, hence the name.
If people want to look you up to learn more about you, is there a place that they can go to? Because what you're going to say on today's interview is going to unsettle people. Is there a place where people can learn more about you or kind of help our listeners out there?
Yeah, sure. I'm on Twitter at that's my main platform is Twitter.
Got it.
Dig Warrior for Kids. So DIG Warrior, the number 4 kids. Because my career involves taking care of kids, and I've always had a passion for helping kids, caring for them, and trying to get the truth out about what keeps them healthy.
Okay.
Just so happens that truth it's ubiquitous. It's not just kids; it's for everyone.
So, when did it first occur to you that the Center for Disease Control and the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA and the CDC, when did it first occur to you that these organizations were filled and overflowing with corruption?
Well, it all started really with me during this pandemic. I was locked in my my office. Everyone had their doors shut. Everyone was in a panic because apparently at the beginning this was an airborne virus. They told us it was 20 feet airborne, an airborne virus that could suspend in the air up to 2 to 3 hours and spread up to 20 feet. So I took it seriously. And so me taking that seriously and locking myself in the office, people thinking I'm crazy, other people doing the same thing, we barely had any patients come in. And that's when I was actually able to spend time to dissect all this. And I mean, it came quick. I did a couple of things. Number one, I started to just evaluate the basic science of all of this. None of it made sense. Okay. And then when they layered it with mask mandates and then changed their tune back and forth of whether or not it was airborne or not.
Right.
The moment, a couple of things happened. One, I looked at the CDC stats and I started to see influenza drop off the face of the earth.
Real quick, just so we're clear, COVID, James, is an attorney. You've seen the statistics.
Yeah.
COVID apparently COVID deaths apparently cure the flu deaths.
Pneumonia too, I think.
Pneumonia
also.
deaths.
Yeah,
so,
yes.
And just so we're clear, because a lot of people don't have the background, I want to make sure we get this. That of the 200,000 people that have died, quote unquote, and Dr. Q, please correct me if I'm wrong, they're counting flu, influenza, pneumonia, these kinds of deaths as COVID-like, taking all these different kinds of ways you could die and putting it into one category, calling them COVID-like deaths. Or am I correct there, sir?
Yeah, you're very correct, and that was part of my mind, blowing. These are PDF files. You can search the CDC. This is actual fact. So I'm sitting there saying, "Oh my gosh, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Let me look at the numbers." And I'm looking at the numbers, and influenza is dropping off the face of the planet. Then I figure out, and it's not hard. All this information is out there, that what they're calling a COVID infection or a COVID death, they're actually just using ICD-10 codes. So they're using, and they group together coronavirus, influenza-like illness, and pneumonia. And they have never separated them. And so I started to realize, that's corrupt. That is corrupt. We're telling everyone that currently, I think the world is at a 98% decrease in influenza. That's what the World Health Organization said.
Right.
And so there were certain things that just kept popping at me, just hitting me across the face, where, people are not using their basic common sense. And we're talking common sense. These people are supposed to be the top tier of medical and scientific expertise. And they're telling me that a face mask helps this, but then, we're still out there exchanging money. We've been exchanging money now for 10 months, right? So if this was this horrible pandemic that was super contagious, if it's airborne, it's certainly in your mucus, and certainly you can pass it through touch. It just, that's when it started to crumble.
Now, I want to make sure the listeners get this, because I know that a lot of our listeners haven't done as much research as you and I have done. Rudy Giuliani, he tweeted out on October 30th that the growth rate for death in America went up more in the last years of the Obama-Biden administration than in any of the Trump's years. We call that excess death. So how many people as a percentage died more this year than last year? And so if this was, in fact, a super deadly virus, one would say as the number of cases goes up, what else should go up, James? The number of
deaths.
Deaths? Oh, yes, this just in. The number of deaths should be going up, but yet they didn't. And so I put a link so all the listeners can verify what I just said. Now, the other fun fact here I want to get Dr. Q's take on is the COVID-19, the tests. We call those PCR tests.
Yeah.
Those guys, and correct me if I'm wrong here, what you do is you set up, you get somebody to take a test of some kind. They take some RNA, and what they do is they amplify the RNA, or they call it a cycle, So you want to be at about 17 cycles of the RNA that you extract from a person. And then and it's pretty accurate when you take a PCR test at 17 cycles. But once you amplify beyond 23, 24, 25 times, pretty soon it starts distorting the data. And above 30 cycles, 35 cycles, the data is completely useless, and it creates false positives everywhere. Right. And so I've talked to local doctors in Tulsa this weekend, and I called them. I said, guys, what is the cycle setting on the PCR tests? Are we in the 30s where it's fake, or where are we at? And they go, we don't know. So a buddy of mine calls up to the lab and ends up discovering that all of the tests being used in Tulsa, Oklahoma to test for COVID-19 are set higher than 33 at 33 cycles. Therefore, the test results are nearly 100% bogus. Have I said anything there that's not correct, or could you correct me and kind of walk our listeners through what that means?
No, you're absolutely correct. So what they did is they kind of guessed what the RNA sequence was for coronavirus, and so they test for that and they amplify it, like you said. I want to get to something. So you're absolutely correct. So people need to understand that this is a test that if you amplify it enough, they will all be positive. And Dr. Fauci and other people have been on air saying that once it gets above 30, 35, it's useless. And we have no standardized testing across the United States. Everyone's using different amplification numbers. Here's the other bigger thing. I think this is bigger than the amplification. And this was a CDC paper. So I want them to explain it. Their paper that they sent all the hospitals in regards to PCR testing, and I have this on my Twitter. It was published by the FDA, but it's a CDC paper. It says in the second paragraph in describing the PCR test that this test is meant to test for coronavirus, COVID-19, but cannot distinguish other viruses or bacteria. So bacteria and other viruses also have RNA that match what they're looking for. And they say this in black and white. It's not a theory. So what we're doing is we're ramming something up your nose. And what do we all have in our nose? Bacteria. So it is not distinguishing, per their paper in April and July of 2020. They are not distinguishing between other viruses, so the common cold, influenza, adenovirus, or bacteria. I'm surprised they're not. No wonder we have so many cases.
I heard on KRMG.
Explain that. I need someone to come on TV and explain how they printed that, and now they're telling us that it's a test specific for coronavirus.
Something even weirder and more bizarre than that, at least as far as I'm concerned. I heard on the ride over here, listening to KRMG, I think it was the Rush Limbaugh show, although he was out because of his health issues and someone else was taking place. I'm not sure of his name. But he was saying, or on the show, they were saying that one person that they're familiar with tested positive in the left nostril, but negative in the right nostril. Go figure that, right?
Oh, this is Erykah Badu. Erykah Badu, the R&B singer. She recently did that. And then Elon Musk, this is fun. Elon Musk, I love Elon Musk because he gets obsessed with something and will not get off of the topic until he solves the problem. And Elon decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to just get tested. I'm going to test myself to the next level. So Elon had 4 tests in the same day with the same nurse, same tests, same Elon Musk. And he tweeted out about this. He said, something extremely bogus is going on. I was tested for COVID 4 times today. 2 tests came back negative. Two came back positive. Same machine, same test, same nurse. Rapid antigen test for BD. Anyway, so the point is, we know the tests are crap. Okay, we know the tests are crap. We know the excess deaths just are not happening. Can you tell us, should we be trusting Dr. Fauci, the CDC, and the FDA?
I mean, I can't tell you what to do as a listener. I can say that I don't. Absolutely not. I haven't seen evidence. I haven't seen them dispute what we're saying. And so I have zero trust at this point, personally.
Now, you wrote this book, Eyes Wide Open, that is really, I mean, it's pretty groundbreaking stuff here. What inspired you to write this book? Was it just finding a general distrust of these organizations, or finding your research, or what caused you to write this book?
Well, it's my awakening and discovering facts that discovering things that I thought were facts that are not factual. So, another thing I did when I was sitting in my office and during this time was look at vaccines. And, I've had vaccine injured families contact me even before this, and I never really paid it much attention. In fact, I don't believe that many healthcare providers give this enough attention. And so I decided to read an insert, and I read an insert, and what I found was horrifying. And so when you give a medication or an injection, you're supposed to give informed consents, meaning you're supposed to tell the possible positives, but also the possible negatives. And it says right there in the vaccine inserts, this includes flu, all these vaccine inserts, death is a possibility, paralysis is a possibility. Basically, every chronic illness that known to man is a possibility. And these tests, then when you dig further and you realize that the pharma companies are doing the safety tests on their own product, and then they cut it off. It's for a certain time period, maybe it's 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. Then they cut it off, and then they say, well, if anything bad happens, this is the same thing that's happening with coronavirus vaccines. If anything bad happens, then you'll just have to call in to the FDA or this and let us know.
Let us know.
And that list of things that people have gone through after receiving vaccines is a laundry list.
Right.
It's a horrifying laundry list.
Now, I want to make sure the listeners know that what you said is not crazy. In 1975, this is a fact, 1 in every 5,000 kids had autism. In 2013, It was 1 in every 45 kids had autism. And since 1975 to today, we have grown the number of vaccinations that people are required to have or recommended to have. And so as you see the number of required vaccinations going up, you see the amount of autism going up. Am I missing something there, Dr. Q?
No, it's exactly right. We need answers. We need answers because that's just a fact. We have more chronic illness in children and more autism than we have ever had, 10 times more than 20 years ago. And it seems to have increased with the amount of vaccinations. So we need to investigate that. And it just so happens too, I had to do my homework as well. I didn't fully understand the Vaccine Injury Act of 1986. I didn't fully understand that this vaccine that they're trying to roll out right now is protected under law. We can't sue the manufacturer. Which is insane to me. That's our only protection, is being able to sue a manufacturer for a medication or a product that harms us.
If the listeners out there will do this for me, and Dr. Q, if you could do this as well, if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, and you click at the top left, there's a button that says the truth about the vaccines. This is all the information that I've curated and gathered. And the truth about the vaccine and the Bill Gates treatments. I don't know if you've seen this stuff yet, so I'm just going to throw it out there. Have you had a chance to look at what's in the proposed luciferase vaccines? Have you seen this?
The luciferase vaccines.
Yes. Have you seen this?
What an odd name. I think what was the patent number on
060606, and they're calling it you can call it the Lucifer race. Now I'm going to give you something to Google here, Dr. Q.
Yeah.
This will blow your mind. Google search this. Jeffrey Epstein creates own race of people. Just type that into Google real quick. This will blow your mind. So Jeffrey Epstein, this is in the New York Times, Fox, and The Guardian. I don't know if it pulled up for you, but you should see there. Jeffrey Epstein was working on creating his own race of people with Bill Gates up until the time of his arrest, maybe suicide, maybe not, whatever. And he worked with Charles Lieber. And I'd encourage you to go down that rabbit trail because Charles Lieber just got arrested, the Harvard professor, for failing to disclose that he was getting paid by the Chinese. I mean, it is crazy what's going on there. I want to ask you, Dr. Q, what can our listeners do? I mean, what can they do? Help our listeners help you. What can they do?
Well, at first, and I tell that this is why I wrote the book. I don't believe that healthcare providers are bad. I think there's a lot of good people out there that have been listening to the top, from the top down, from the CDC, FDA, whatever's been shoved in our faces for decades, and they believe it like it's the word of God. They need to do their own research. They need to read the inserts. They need to read the fine print on these medications. But let's talk about the mRNA vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean, this is unreal. So they're giving you mRNA you're going to inject, and then it's going to wrap itself into your DNA. Okay. So it's essentially changing your DNA.
No.
Okay. And then your cells supposedly make an antigen that your body recognizes that is close to coronavirus. But it's never been done before.
Right.
And now we're pushing this out in 6 to 9 months when other vaccines have been studied for years. So this fundamentally, this changes your DNA if you take this vaccine.
And this technology, by the way, the nanotechnology in there, which is the patent number W02020060606. I have a link here on timetofreeamerica.com where people can read it and see it is a cryptocurrency system using body activity. And that is a terrifying, I mean, for anybody, I have to assume that, James, previous, because you're from Manhattan, you and I have known each other for a while now, previous to knowing me, did you often just flip through the book of Revelations and talk about, the mark? Do you ever talk about that?
No, never did.
Never did? Okay, I'm just going to read this for the listeners out there. Yeah. This is Revelations chapter 13, verse 17 and 18. It says, "And that no man might buy or sell save that he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." Revelations 13, 18. "Here is the wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. If that does not freak you out, that the very patent number that Bill Gates chose is 060606, if that doesn't just give you chills, I don't know what will. Dr. Q, how can our listeners support you? Is it picking up a copy of your book? Is it sharing the truth? I mean, what can the listeners do?
Yes, sir. So I'm diving into natural medicines. Okay, natural medicines and other alternative therapies, and that's something else that is in my book. So my book is not doom and gloom. It's definitely eye-opening, but I also talk about discovered cures. We have cures for cancer out there. We have them already. Okay, we have when President Trump talked about light and everyone made fun of him. Guess what? There's a company on the stock exchange that's currently being traded that sells devices to hospital system.
Yep.
Currently being studied, Mount Sinai, 17 rooms, interestingly enough, that kills bacteria and viruses 99.99% with 15 minutes of UV light in a patient's room. So when he's talking about this stuff, he's not first of all, he's not mincing words and he's not crazy. And so there's amazing stuff on the horizon if we can get over this speed bump of an election. So yes, if you could purchase my book, that would be wonderful. I have pledged myself to speak for truth for the rest of my career. I have a lot. I feel like I was asleep for too long, and I want to help other healthcare providers wake up.
Yeah.
And I want to be that bridge between the old blind follow the blind leading the blind into an age where people don't take everything that's told them at face value. They do a little bit of research.
What I want to do before we wrap up today's show, I want to respect your time, and I want to see if you can explain this to me in maybe 30 seconds or 1 minute here. I, over the years, have been asked to do consulting for a lot of doctors. Okay, so I've met a lot of doctors. And what I have found, and again, if I'm speaking in a turn, you can correct me, but I have found that a lot of these doctors, they're good at memorizing stuff, and they have no idea how to critically think. So after I had one of my clients, he had a beer or two, and I said, "Hey, doc, I got to ask you. I've spent a lot of time with doctors, and I'm not saying this about all doctors. I'm just saying, doc, I've spent a lot of time with doctors, and you're the first doctor that I've talked to at this point in my career that I'm impressed with intellectually, like that actually thinks about things critically and doesn't just copy, paste, memorize, take the test." And he said, "Well, Clay, the way school teaches you, you're in such a pressure-cooked environment. You're just trying to memorize everything that no one really has time to question. You're just told, if the FDA says it, it's true. If the CDC says it, it's true." Do you agree with that, or am I off base?
No, you're 100% correct. And that's a chapter in my book. And this is why I'm giving healthcare providers a get out of jail free card here. Yes, from the minute you walk into med school, you are fed so much information that the only thing you can do is memorize it for the upcoming test. Then you're released into hospital systems and you're worked 80 to 100 hours a week. You think these people are going home and questioning what their mentors are saying or questioning what the CDC or FDA are saying?
Right.
And then you're released into society to help people. And now we all work for hospital organizations, and those hospital organizations love to overwork doctors. Okay. They love to make your visit 5 to 10 minutes. And so with the invent of electronic medical records and pushing to hit target numbers of patients, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners don't have time. They don't have time or the emotion to research and to question anything. All they're trying to do is survive. They're trying to hit the numbers. They're trying to do a good job, and they are taking everything that's fed to them as point blank. So you are absolutely correct. We are made to do this. It's almost like a military.
Yeah,
it's
sad.
If it comes down from a medical society or the CDC or FDA, it's law.
Dr. Q, where can people learn more about you? Is there a website you recommend people go to, or where can they learn more about you?
Well, I'm kind of new in this. I'm still primarily in wanting to be a physician, just of truth.
Got it.
And so right now, the only thing I have is my Twitter handle, and my book is on Amazon. Dr. Q, Eyes Wide Open. I hope to, because I'm making connections. Dr. Mikovits, Dr. Young, who speaks about. He speaks about. I don't know if you know him. He does a lot of stuff working on water and all of the fluorinated water and the. But I'm making connections, and I hope to have a website soon, where to bring all of these incredible people together, where people can learn medical truth.
So your handle
now it's Twitter.
Your handle on Twitter, one more time, is what?
DIG Warrior, the number 4 kids. Dig Warrior 4 kids.
And folks out there, if you have not heard our interview with Dr. Mikovits, Dr. Judy, you can just type in Thrive Time Show, Dr. Judy Mikovits. You can hear that. Dr. Q, I appreciate you for joining us so much, my friend. And once we wrap up here, I've got one thing I want to send you via email. But again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the work you guys are doing. Thank God there's people like you. God bless.
And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!